kings, queens, and legendary generals, their paths appear laid out before them. This is a story about one of them. A woman they never planned to be their strong point, but who became the very bedrock of their survival. Our story begins in a kingdom teetering on the brink of collapse. Decades of lavish spending and political infighting had left the royal coffers empty and the military weak. The neighboring empire, sensing an opportunity, began to amass its forces along the border. War was not a question of if, but when. Within the palace walls, the king and his council of grizzled old men debated strategies. They placed their hopes on their generals, their seasoned diplomats, and the faint possibility of a marriage alliance. They planned for every contingency, or so they thought. They planned for sieges, for open battles, and for treacherous negotiations. But they never planned for her. Alara was the youngest daughter of a minor noble, often forgotten in the shadow of her more accomplished siblings. She wasn't a warrior trained in the art of the sword, nor a scholar versed in ancient texts. Her domain was the royal gardens and the library's quietest corners. To the powerful men who ran the kingdom, she was little more than a decorative piece, a gentle soul to be married off for a small political gain. They saw her kindness as weakness and her quiet nature as a lack of ambition. They were disastrously wrong. When the invasion finally came, it was swift and brutal. The kingdom's armies, ill-prepared and poorly led, crumbled. The capital city was besieged, and despair fell like a thick fog. The king was lost in the initial chaos, and his advisers fell to bickering and blaming one another. The entire structure of power they had built was collapsing. It was in this vacuum, this moment of absolute crisis, that Alara stepped forward. She started small. While the generals argued over non-existent armies, Alara organized the palace servants to ration the dwindling food supplies. She noticed the water reserves were contaminated and, recalling an old book on herbal remedies, she directed the apothecaries to set up purification systems. Her calm demeanor and practical, decisive actions were a stark contrast to the panic gripping the city's leadership. People started to listen. Soldiers, disillusioned with their commanders, began to look to her for orders. She didn't shout or command. She spoke with a quiet authority that came from genuine competence. She understood the people because she had always been among them, not above them. They never planned for her to be their strategist, but her knowledge of the city's layout, gleaned from years of exploring its forgotten tunnels and alleyways, allowed her to coordinate guerrilla attacks that baffled the enemy. They never planned for her to be their diplomat, but it was her empathy that allowed her to unite the city's rival factions, reminding them of their shared humanity against a common foe. She became the unexpected center of the resistance, the strong point that held the line when all others had broken. She was the one they never accounted for, and she became the one they could not live without. Her story is a powerful reminder that true strength isn't always loud or obvious. Sometimes the most resilient foundations are built in silence, waiting for the moment the world needs them most. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this story, be sure to subscribe for more.